Boy, do I have a jam-packed video for you all today. I had the pleasure of filming a collection of Bristol Mint coins from the reign of Henry VIII that is worth a whopping £5,000+. I know how much you all enjoy seeing expensive bundles of coins, and these are courtesy of a good friend and fellow collector of almost 50 years. In the 16th century, after suffering from the effects of the Black Death, Europe was in the middle of an economic expansion due in part to increased trade and newly discovered deposits of precious metals from the New World. England, however, was suffering with financial difficulty. In the 1540s, Henry VIII began a campaign of excessive overspending of government money on his lavish lifestyle and to pay for wars with France and Scotland. In order to fund these, Henry had already raised great sums through the dissolution of the monasteries, selling off the crown's land, and by raising taxes. However, more money was still required, and in May 1542, Henry issued a secret indenture whereby he ordered that the amount of gold and silver within the country's coinage be secretly reduced and for the previously unsuccessful Testoon to be recoined again. For the next 2 years, the newly minted debased coins, including the reintroduced Testoon, were stockpiled in Jewel Tower in the Palace of Westminster, while production of coins at the current standard continued. By May 1544, a lack of bullion arriving at the mint prompted the government to issue the secret indenture and allow the debased coins to enter into general circulation. 2 months later, in July 1544, merchants of the Low Countries discovered that the newly minted silver groats had become debased and began offering a lower price for them. The introduction of these debased coins caused coins at a similar face value but with higher precious metal content to disappear from circulation. The coin displayed is a Testoon, first introduced under Henry VII with great failure. They were produced in such small quantities that there are only 3 known dies for those minted around 1489, and only 3 known legend varieties. These small changes suggest that these were not issued for circulation, and were instead produced as pattern pieces when Henry VII developed his profile issue groats and half groats. Henry VIII's Testoon was introduced in the third coinage between 1544 and 1547, and shortly into the reign of Edward VI, when they were reissued as the shilling, the denomination we know and love today. These are extremely hard to get in high grades, and relatively poor issues like this one will set you back still around £1,000. We have the most menacing front-facing portrait of the king, and the reverse we have a crowned Tudor rose with Henry's initials either side. Secondly, we have one of the more common Bristol coins from Henry's reign. I was lucky enough to own a Bristol groat 18 months ago, but do you know when the coin doesn't tick all the boxes and your taste for quality changes? Well, I sold the coin and waited patiently for a replacement. But the coins acquired by this Bristol collector is astounding. The coin has a lovely old cabinet toning, and the colour really shows the debasement of this issue and how coppery they were becoming. The value of silver minted dropped from the standard 91% to 30% in the pennies by the end of the third and final coinage. This then paved a very uneven road for Edward's council to follow, especially with very little trust with the people who began hoarding the higher value silver pieces. One of my friends is researching further into the portrait issues of Henry VIII, and as soon as he publishes his work I will be sure to post a link down below for you all to see. Thirdly, we have the crown of the double rose, a beautiful large coin from his reign. Gold coins always hold a small affection in my heart, despite not actually owning one. Unfortunately, the cost of gold stops me from investing in one at the moment, but who knows, this time next year may be time to acquire the very first one. The obverse displays the crowned Tudor rose with Henry's initials either side. This was a real big staple in terms of design change, a big stamp on the authority that the Tudor name held, and really, by that time, that they were there to stay. On the reverse we have the crowned shield with lions of England and the lilies of France within quarters. These are very popular to collect, as Henry had the initials of his wives on some of the varieties, making them a great series for the Tudor collectors out there. This coin bears the WS mint mark, minted during the third coinage under William Sharington. William Sharington was the English courtier of the time of Henry VIII, master and embezzler of the Bristol Mint and a member of Parliament. In 1546, in a development which ultimately led to his downfall, Sharington became under-treasurer of a newly re-established mint at the Bristol Castle. This position was in effect that of the Master of the Mint, and it carried a salary of 200 marks or £133 6 shillings and 8 pence a year. With a staff of 6 men, including an engraver, Bristol was the only mint outside of London to make gold coins, and also the only one apart from that at the Tower of London to have its own engraver. By 1548, Sharington had begun to defraud the Bristol Mint by making coins too light and by minting more coins that had been ordered, keeping false records to fend off discovery. According to his later confession, he had been afraid that his minting activity would leave him out of pocket, and as a result, Sharington became involved in a plot by Thomas, Lord Seymour, to launch an armed uprising, overthrow the government of Seymour's brother Edward Seymour, 1st Duke of Somerset, and capture the boy king Edward VI. Harrington had sought the protection of Seymour in the event of the discovery that he was profiting dishonestly from his office at the Mint, and Seymour persuaded Sharington to supply funds for his plot. He asked Sharington whether he could make £10,000, enough money to keep 10,000 armed men in action for a month, and Sharington had said that he could and that Seymour should lack no money. However, the plot was discovered, and in January 1549 both men were arrested. Sharington was arrested on charges of coining base money, clipping and other frauds. Sharington confessed, setting blame to Seymour, and suffered an attainder, forfeiting his land estates and being ejected from his seat in Parliament, while Seymour was beheaded. The reason stated for Sharington's attainder was that he had coined Testoons for personal gain. Now, I'm not lucky enough to own a gold coin marked with these initials, but I do have a sovereign penny minted with his initials next to the shield. I think Sharington was very lucky that Henry VIII was not around at the time of his trial, as I do think that his fate wouldn't have been as favourable. We then have one of the most beautiful half-groats of Henry VIII that I have ever seen. One of the more common coins found out in the fields is a half-groat of Henry's portrait minted during his posthumous coinage during the first 4 years of Edward's reign. But these third coinage half-groats rarely come up for sale on Facebook and are, in my opinion, much more attractive. The portrait is a lot more crude and tends to have a lot more thrills compared to the posthumous. The reverse bears the Tudor shield with the legend translating to the city of Bristol. You really don't see many like this, and hopefully if he ever gets bored, he will give me first refusal, as I would like to keep as many of them in Bristol as possible. I was very lucky to be gifted a lower grade example of a Bristol half-groat from my friend. That is a fantastic addition to my collection, so huge thank you to him for that. Lastly, we have 2 very small coins, the penny and the very rare halfpenny. The craftsmanship that went into engraving a die so small still blows me away. Such a small and intricate design carefully engraved to give Henry the same powerful look that was designed for his larger coins. The legends, on the rare occasion you get to see them, are abbreviated versions of his groats, claiming Henry's kingship of England, France and Lord of Ireland. The reverse will display the city of Bristol, and as far as I'm aware, I've not seen many of these halfpennies, and this was a chance find for him on eBay, as it was misidentified. Now, if you're not already into coins, I hope this has given you the spark to get learning, and lucky for you, there are over 100 videos to help you get started. Be sure to let me know down below what Henry VIII coins you have in your collections, and what coins you'd like to own one day. Thank you all for watching, and as always, keep collecting.